Hello there, Star Wars fans, and welcome back to another Rebelscum.com interview with special guest Chris Bartlett. Chris Bartlett, the droid one jack, not the Chris Bartlett we interviewed months ago with Zero from The Mandalorian. This is a totally different droid, guys. We've got one jack from Kenobi. So
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. The one and only.
This is the actual costume that I wore on set for the episode 2 of Obi-Wan Kenobi, where I'm a low-life bounty hunter hunting Obi-Wan Kenobi and little Leia, the scene where she falls off the roof and he saves her with the Force while I'm trying to murder both of them.
So, as one jack on the set of Obi-Wan Kenobi, was there ever a point where one jack and the droid Lola interacted? Did you guys have like a little droid conversation at all on set, behind the scenes?
Oh, behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like Lola comes out, maybe taking a droid smoke break or drink break or snack break or something, and y'all are just chatting it up, talking about business.
Yes, yeah. She has quite a career outside of Star Wars. I mean, she's not just a Star Wars droid, but she works in lots of other, she's works in horror films. She also does, a lot of work that, I'll let her tell that story. But,
sure.
But yeah, no, her and one jack got along great. They're friends, off outside of the filming, but in terms of, when they're in the story, they're enemies, mortal enemies.
Sure, because one jack was clearly pursuing Obi-Wan, Leia, and of course
Lola.
little Lola.
Right.
I mean, Lola was, I think, in Obi-Wan's pocket or Leia's pocket at the time, but he was chasing them down.
Right. Yeah, that's right. I mean, he was, they were really worth something, and that's the main point.
Yeah. So as I understand it, on set, behind the scenes as one jack, you and your team actually put together the suit that we have here with us, of course, today for this series. So what was that like? Have you ever assembled a droid character before for Lucasfilm as one of the droids you've portrayed in the past?
Yes, all of them except for Q90.
Okay.
So that's quite a few of them. And it's really great to be able to work with Doug Chiang and Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni, to come up with, new droid characters. What's fun for me is playing so many of them, I get to give each one of them individual personalities. When I played the traffic droid in Book of Boba Fett, it was kind of a loosely jointed, old, malfunctioning kind of droid, and it was, almost got run over by the speeders. Whereas C-3PO is well oiled, and he's very precise in his movements. Yeah. Same with one jack. He's a high performance, highly modified droid. So his movements are all not only very precise, but also very snappy, very fast, much faster than C-3PO. So anyway, it's fun to be able to create different personalities because I can keep them all, I know all of them by heart. So, but being able to not only create, the parts, but also the personalities of them is really, really fun to do too.
So why a droid like Forlom? Because one jack is very similar to the design of Forlom. Was that something that came down from up the ladder at Lucasfilm, or was that part your team and your idea to do a droid that resembled Forlom?
That would be a question for Jon Favreau.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'll let him tell that story. Why this particular droid?
All right, we'll go ahead and we'll pencil him in on the schedule for interviews.
Okay.
We'll just call him into the room next, and he'll tell us, and I'll ask him about some of the Iron Man suits too while we're at it.
Yeah.
John, tell me why Forlom?
Right.
Why Forlom? Yeah. So, since we're talking about similarities to Forlom, one jack has some key differences. One jack has more equipment visible on screen. He has this awesome bandolier that is in nice, bright, metallic red colorings. How did that come about?
This was provided by the prop department at Lucasfilm. So this is a replica of the one that I wore on the set, but it's exact replica. Same boxes, same material, and put together the same way. But why that was created, that was provided once I got to set.
Okay.
So I provided the rest of the suit, and
They said, "Here, you're going to wear this too." And
right. But
you're
what
just
I like
"Yeah, sure."
about it is Forlom had a red symbol on his chest right up here, right,
Mhm.
signifying something, and I think we associate the Forlom droid or the Lom class droid with some kind of red.
Sure.
I don't know. So I think maybe it was a callback to that, but specifically why, he's a bounty hunter.
Mhm.
I know Forlom was also a bounty hunter, but I think it's just to differentiate him from Forlom, so we know it's not that droid. Also, he's clean,
Yes.
right? He's
Yeah.
not all rusty like Forlom. His eyes light up green.
Mm.
What other differences? Oh, other differences were he's dual wielding pistols.
Right.
Right. And as you can see here in the figure. And those were also provided by the Lucasfilm prop department. I needed to be able to make sure that my hands could hold these pistols. So those were tailored to fit the pistols. And then Forlom also, One Jack.
One Jack.
Also has a holo projector that's mounted on his forearm. That was also provided by Lucasfilm prop department. The thighs have holsters built into the legs.
So was that incorporated pre-blaster pistols or post-blaster pistols? You at Lucasfilm, when you brought in the suit, did you already have the holsters already kind of there, or did they say, okay, it's time to pick out blasters, and then y'all worked on the blaster pistols y'all decided on, and then from there y'all said, okay, how can we make holstering the weapons work, or is he just going to carry them in his hands?
Right. Without too much detail, the blasters were already designed.
Okay.
And so the holsters needed to be designed to fit the blasters.
Okay.
And the hands needed to be tailored to fit the blasters,
Okay.
which is fine.
So it was blasters,
Mm-hmm.
then holsters,
Mm-hmm.
then hands.
The hands were already made. I just had to make some adjustments.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, but the holsters were, we wanted this to be a gunslinger character.
Mhm.
He had to be the most action-packed protocol droid we've seen. And I think, a lot of us have wanted to see Forlom in action. We see him in Empire Strikes Back. He's very static. We assume he has this big history of being a bounty hunter,
Mhm.
working with Zuckuss. And we see in the comics, he's so action, so many action scenes. And we wanted to see that in live action. So even though this is not Forlom, it's a Lom class droid, but the direction is we wanted to see him in action, be able to run and jump, climb ladders, things like that.
Fall in alleys, get shot in the back.
Yes, yeah. And so I tailored the suit to be able to do, have a wider stance than C-3PO,
Mhm.
have a little bit more movement in the arms. The arm pistons were engineered to take more shock, and also beefed up so they'd have a little more of a high performance look to them.
Mm.
And otherwise, and then the holsters being machined or mounted onto the thighs to appear as if they were made originally all together, was the look we were going for. And then the holsters themselves needed to hold the pistols.
Mm-hmm.
So as a performer, I can't, just the nature of the restriction of the arm, I can't hold it like this and pull a weapon out like this and then aim it. Plus, I wanted to have more fluid snapping motion, so I made the holsters so that they were open in the front, so I could quick draw them like this, and then I could put them back in and let go, and they would stick. So that was the thinking behind that.
That's arguably way cooler of a draw than pulling up and adjusting out versus just pulling forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you grab them, pull them straight forward, slam them back in, and they stay. So that was all part of creating this character who was very super responsive, quicker than organics.
And he was on screen, you're throwing blaster bolts pretty quickly over at Obi-Wan and little Leia.
Yes.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, thanks. No, it was a lot of fun. I mean, being in Star Wars, one of the dreams is to have a cool shootout, right? I mean, that's part of Star Wars, and so that was really fun to do too. And the way that they would do some of the, we had live pyro going off, both when I was shooting and then also when I got shot. So yeah, it was good fun.
So you worked on the suit for One Jack.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't work on the suit for Q90, and that's the only droid character that you've portrayed on screen where you didn't actually do the suit yourself or with your team.
Right. Q90 is built by Legacy Effects.
But over the years, you've built a good number of droids. So
Mm-hmm.
how many droids have you built and portrayed in total, would you think? C-3PO.
C-3PO
Would be the first, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
There's
and then
the Garza's server droid.
in Book of Boba.
Uh-huh. There's the traffic droid in Book of Boba.
Okay.
There's the
Teacher droid.
teacher droid.
In season 2 of Mando.
Yes.
And the RA7 droid in
RA7
season 2
droid.
of Mando.
Uh-huh.
Let's see. One Jack
One Jack.
is 6.
Yes. So far.
Okay. So 6 droids. That's quite a bit. So what's the process of that like? How long would you say it probably took you to build your first droid costume, which was C-3PO,
Mm-hmm.
versus now that you do it on more of a regular basis for Lucasfilm, for whichever scenes you might be playing in? Was it significantly longer the first time than it is now? Is it more, I've done it
Yes.
this many times, so, okay, here's what we need to do, and then it's a much quicker process?
Yeah, the first time was total trial and error.
Okay.
And that took 3 years of me on the weekends and evenings working with a partner who had a fiberglass shop, and so it took 3 years to get it all functional. Okay. Since then, I have molds for those, and then since then also 3D printing has come about, so I'm able to customize parts a little more quickly than hand sculpting some parts. So it's quicker now, but I do still start with some of my own parts before 3D printing some other ones. But yeah, it's a lot faster now, but it still does take a lot of time, and we all have day jobs too. So
Sure.
yeah.
What would you say excites you most about putting together a droid? What portion of the process do you look forward to the most when you start to take on a new droid to bring to life?
Definitely the aging and the weathering,
Oh,
because
okay.
when it's finally done,
Mhm.
it looks like, frankly, a toy or a store-bought costume, because
Okay.
it's all new.
I mean, probably not quite store-bought.
Okay, but I'm sorry, like a new, kind of like I don't know, just mass-produced kind of toy.
Sure.
And when you do the weathering and the aging to it, it really starts to look like something that walked off the set. Something with One Jack was originally, this was a C-3PO costume underneath, so there's gold chrome underneath this. So when some of the paint started chipping off, I saw gold coming through. So I went through and weathered the rest of it with gold, gold aging. So
Okay.
so it would appear that different parts that had chipped off of One Jack were not silver like metal, but were gold, which would show that he's kind of like a higher, really high value droid, that he has something underneath him that, maybe he had some other purpose that was, maybe a more etiquette and protocol, but then later he had programmed himself to, be a low life bounty hunter, high performance. Anyway, that was the thinking, just something different than silver. When you're making these droids, you try and you think of their backstory, and sometimes you make it up as you go along, and that's what I was thinking with that.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, the aging is the most fun part of any costume that I work on. So,
Have you ever thought about doing one to be portrayed fresh off the assembly line?
Yes, I have.
Nice and clean?
Yes, I have.
Nice. What have you make a suit like that, or would that be one of your 3POs?
Maybe we could watch the Mandalorian season 3 trailer.
Oh, okay.
And
There are some droids in the Mandalorian season 3 trailer.
Yeah, one that was especially shiny
Hmm.
with no weathering on it.
Interesting. So I'm sure you've gotten this question quite a bit. I'm much like the question of being on set with Mandalorian. What's it like working with the big stars? What's it like working with Pedro Pascal? The Mandalorian. What was it like working with Ewan, Obi-Wan Kenobi, on the set of Kenobi? Did you have a decent amount of interaction with Ewan?
Yes. So the scenes with One Jack were almost always with Ewan, because there's when he's walking through that town square,
the bazaar, and
the bazaar.
Ewan has that scene with his daughter. You can see One Jack walking behind him, kind of on, like a patrol.
Well, I'm looking for him, and I'm always one step behind him.
Oh, okay.
There was also another scene with a group of people, and I think you can see One Jack's green eye in the background, where I'm working with the background folks, and trying to make connections, get some information on this guy. And then the scene where I'm up on the roof, that day of filming, he had already done his part on the roof.
Okay.
So I was up on the roof alone. And then in the alleyway all day was with him and with Kumail Nanjiani, who played the fake Jedi.
Right.
And the way that worked was the director, Deborah Chow, brought me over to Ewan and said, "Ewan, this is Chris. He's going to be playing One Jack." And he goes, "Oh, hello, Chris." And I was just like, he said my name. And anyway, so we spent all day together, me getting shot in front of him all day. And the whole thing about getting shot is I had to spin around, slam against the wall, slide down and hit the ground. And it was really sort of traumatic, I think, to see it, they were saying, because they knew I had no padding. They knew the suit wasn't padded and it was hard fiberglass and I was falling on the hard ground. And we did it all morning. So it was about 12 times that I, slam against the wall, fall on the ground, crash on the ground. Sometimes parts, popped off. Sometimes I couldn't breathe, and and a couple of times, Ewan, they take off the helmet, and Ewan's standing over me, and he said, "Chris, are you all right?" And so he was very nice to, checking on me, and it's funny to look up at Obi-Wan having the high ground, and that was a lot of fun, but it was the most physically demanding day I've ever had in any costume, just because of the sheer sort of shock of being, doing my own stunts, of falling on the hard ground
in a full suit.
In a full suit, yeah. But in the end, they didn't use the shot of me falling on the hard ground. They used a shot of me falling over, and the suit locks up, and I'm not I'm not moving. I'm not falling down. I'm not standing up. I've been shot, and so
you were stuck
against the wall.
Oh no!
And I don't have balance, but the suit is like hooked on something, so that's why I'm still like that in this shot, in the scene that's on the show now.
Did they try to cut it all and say, "Hey, are you okay?" Or
no, because the show goes on.
No, just keep going.
No, show goes on. No, we just go to the end of the scene, and what happened was I was stuck on the wall, and then the suit unhooks from the wall, and I slowly fall and crash on the ground. The slowest droid death ever. Okay. And they're still in their conversation, Kumail and Ewan. But it was hilarious that everyone started laughing, and it messed up their scene. Because I was shot like minutes ago, and now
you're
finally crash on the ground. So that's the one they ended up using instead of all the ones I was falling on the ground all day. And then when it cuts back to me, I am laying on the ground, and Kumail shoots me again, and you see the eyes flicker. There's a little special effect for that.
So was that put in post, or did you make the eyes flicker yourself? Because there were lights in the suit, correct?
Yeah, the eyes lit up,
Okay.
and when I knew I was going to be shot, so it would assume his power goes out when he's deactivated.
Sure.
But they didn't have a plan or for that, and I just said, I went to the prop department and said, hey, wonder if well, first we did a test. Dana, my dresser, I said, I want to have a momentary switch that I can turn off and on and flicker and turn it off, so when I get shot, the eyes turn off. And he was like, literally this: a couple of gum wrappers, a plastic spoon, two popsicle sticks, and some kind of rubber band.
His name didn't happen to be MacGyver.
Yes, Dana MacGyver Gasser. He rewired the lights to this contraption, wrapped it in foil so that it would make contact, and if I separated, it would not make contact, so the lights would come off. So I was like, okay, wow, this is amazing. All right, so I put it in my mouth, and I go to do it, and my mouth is on fire. It's like really hot because
you have electricity running through your mouth.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So we were like, okay, glad we tested that. Let's not do that. So we went to the prop department and said, hey, do you happen to have a rubber switch of some kind that I could put in my mouth? They said, oh yeah, we have something. And like, oh wow, we just spent half an hour like fabricating this thing. So anyway, we rewired the lights to that, and as I get shot, you see as Kumail shoots me again, the lights flicker and turn off. And that was how we did the effect. It was all practical. There's nothing in post, and it was really fun to come up with ideas for solving problems, for characters so that they feel really fully rich. And it's always fun to do stuff practical and not tell the special effects guys, hey, you got to fix this afterwards.
Sure. So speaking of the lights in the eyes, could you see through the eyes? Because it looks like it's a pretty big
window.
Yeah.
No. You can't see through these because they're so thick. There's such thick material that it's just frosted. So you could see a really bright light shining at you.
So it's translucent enough to see light, but not translucent enough to just see through while you're wearing it.
See where you're going.
Okay.
So I had to look through the snout right here, and there's a wire mesh in front of it. But still, it was pretty good. I could see, I can take snapshots, looking where I am. I walk the thing with the head off, so I know where I'm going. So generally, that's how I do all of them. Is I always walk and do the scenes without the head on first, and then I know where I'm going afterwards, no matter what my visibility is.
So when you're in production and there's other cast members and extras on set, because for those scenes you were in a crowded shopping area.
Yeah.
Did they work with any of the extras and say, hey, okay, this is the character One Jack, he's going to be walking this specific way, he can only see so much, so was there any direction to keep them from accidentally walking in front of you so you didn't bump into anybody? Because it doesn't seem like you could correct very well, if you accidentally just run into somebody.
No, and that happens occasionally, but a little bit. They were like, just generally, you're going to be walking through here, so we will keep people, in this area, but they don't necessarily say, hey, watch out for the droid, because I don't know, but they just generally, I have like a little path that I'm going to be going through, and it's also really dark. It's dark on those sets, and so then the lights are shielded inside, so they're not shining back at you. But I just try to get good at navigating, and it works out okay.
So, out of what you're allowed to talk about from behind the scenes, what is perhaps one of your favorite moments from working on the set of Kenobi versus some of the other shows you've worked on, such as The Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett?
Favorite moments? I played C-3PO in Kenobi.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's a pretty big deal.
Yes, it is a big deal, and I'm honored to do it. Anthony Daniels recorded some dialogue as 3PO is in what he's naturally programmed for is as a translator droid. We finally get to see that. So the story about that was the producer said, all right, Chris, just put on the costume up to the neck and you don't have to put it on your head. Just come out, we'll do a rehearsal and stuff like that. And I was like, I could do that, but or I could. What I'm gonna do is just. I didn't tell him this. I suited up fully in character, in the helmet and everything, and then I was just going to wander out, and he didn't know this. Nobody else knew it, but to see 3PO for the first time, the cast and crew were not fully aware that 3PO was going to be in the shot. The prop department knew, the producer knew, and so I just wandered out as if I was lost. 3PO's looking around like, is this a droid maintenance facility? And it had this, this character created by Anthony Daniels and George Lucas is a magical creature, right? Is so iconic, and everybody recognizes him, especially on a Star Wars show.
Instantly.
Yeah.
Instantly.
So I wanted to create this, to use that momentum of that character, to create a special moment for the cast and crew to really remind us all how special what we were doing was,
And again, we're just talking about being on set. We're not even talking about the scene on Alderaan.
That's the set I was walking out to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So the scene on Alderaan where there's a social gathering.
Right, with the Organa family. Which,
right.
I mean...
Jimmy Smith.
For you fans, by the way, this is actually a really big deal because not only was this your first time in Star Wars media, outside of promotional stuff, playing C-3PO for live-action Star Wars canon, this is the first time we see C-3PO on Alderaan. We knew that he was owned by Bail Organa after Padme from
the events of Revenge of the Sith.
Correct.
Right. His mind had been wiped.
Right. And
he goes to Alderaan.
We knew he was with Leia a few times, and we knew we had seen him on the Tantive 4.
Yes.
But we had never seen him on Alderaan at any point. But we knew, somewhere in that 20-year span, he had to be in the Organa house working for the Organa family as their etiquette and protocol droid.
And translator, right. And so so I walked out to the set, and it was pretty emotional. I mean, all of everything stopped, and I see R2 in the distance. So I'm going just straight for him. I'm not paying attention to anything else. I'm just going straight for him, and I say, R2-D2, is that you? And so it was really special. And so I go up there and I see him and I say, oh, why, it's been such a long time, my old friend. And so then we started the scene, and it was very, I'm saying everything there contributed to that moment. We see Jimmy Smits and Bail Organa and his wife and little Leia. There were a couple of other droids there too. There was YO, who is a chrome droid with blue eyes, played by Dan Bowman. Also one that I built. And then there was another...
Also 7 then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then there was another droid that was a repurposed droid from the Canto Bight scenes in the sequel series.
Okay.
That was a one that was used in those films. We used it in Kenobi, painted it silver because those were black. They were the casino droids with kind of like the pointy triangle face. We repainted those to be silver, and that was played by V. Nixie, and later backed up by Dan Bowman. Okay. So it was a cool moment, social moment. There's droids walking around serving, translating, and for 3PO, it was special because, as I mentioned, this is what he was programmed for. His primary programming is etiquette and protocol, and as a translator droid. But throughout Star Wars, we always see him, as a fish out of water, like not doing the thing he's meant to do, this proper kind of, social function. He's always in danger and being shot at and being thrown out of, into a droid factory or whatever.
Or being forced to be a mouthpiece in front of a dangerous individual.
Gangster, exactly. Right, great point. As he was translating, but it's really against his will.
Right.
And here he was so, you could say his joints were a little more relaxed. His circuits were a little cooler, running cooler, right? And he was so comfortable in that scenario. He was translating an alien to a human and back and forth, and so that was, I think, special, not just because 3PO was in the scene as a cameo, but because of how that character, again created by Anthony Daniels and George Lucas, made everyone, on set feel that this was really Star Wars.
I can only imagine that felt incredibly magical.
It did, and then we all took pictures together afterwards because it's an unforgettable moment. So
they're like, all right, we told you neck up, but you're in the suit now, so
yeah, and
you're here for it.
That's whenever I do play 3PO in a production, whether it's like a show like Lego Masters,
sure.
or the Oscars, or any time when he's in public. I never wanted to be, that's a guy in a C-3PO suit. It's C-3PO. And I want that illusion to be seamless. So yeah, just always, that's how I treat it. I adore this character and reverence the work that Anthony has done over the years. And so I really try to do the best that I can for the character and for the this galaxy. So anyway, he's very special.
That he is. Mm-hmm. That he is. And I think you honor the legacy well.
Oh, thanks.
I can't speak for all fans, but on behalf of us at Rebelscum.com, having met Anthony and growing up with Anthony for so long, I would say, from my perspective, you honor the legacy quite well. So thank you so much for everything you've done for us. Guys, thank you so much for tuning into today's interview at Rebelscum.com. Obviously, we could go on forever. I mean, there's definitely more questions I can think of, but we're running low on time here. So thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you like and subscribe and are checking the website daily so that you don't miss awesome celebrity interviews like this one with Mr. Chris Bartlett here, who is not only C-3PO now, but was also Q90 in The Mandalorian, and now the most recent deadly bounty hunter in the galaxy, One Jack in Kenobi. But he's also played some other awesome droids as well, so go check out some of the other droids. Odds are, if you're watching a Disney Plus series and you see an interesting protocol-style droid body walking around, it's probably Chris. Stay tuned for more, and hopefully stay tuned for some potential new appearances. You said earlier today that you spotted yourself in the trailer for the season 3 of The Mandalorian, so I'm gonna have to go back and watch that and see that moment for myself again. Yeah. And be on the lookout for that potential figure in the future, because now we have One Jack too, so that's really cool.
Yeah, look for something shiny in the trailer for season 3.
Shiny, yes. Okay. And speaking of One Jack and the One Jack figure, make sure you go check out our video review with Mr. Chris Bartlett here, who actually reviewed his own figure.
Oh, that was so awesome, the unboxing. I'd never opened one before, so that was really cool.
We never opened a One Jack before, because if you recall, we did do Zero together. So if you haven't watched that review, go back and watch that review of Q90 and the interview with Chris Bartlett when we interviewed him about Q90 and his roles in The Mandalorian as well back then. And a big thank you to Entertainment Earth, our friends here on Rebelscum.com. You may see their ad a few times, right there on the homepage or on some of the other portions of Rebelscum.com. And if you click that link, sometimes you might even get some special deals for going to them through us. So make sure you go check them out, because they help sponsor this video and this special event this weekend where we got to hang out with Mr. Chris Bartlett and sent us out some Zeros to get signed. Stay tuned for future interviews with special guests such as Chris Bartlett, because I think I have it on good faith that we'll probably see him again at some point in the future. Check out some of our other content, and like I said earlier, like and subscribe. You don't want to miss content like this, guys. Check out rebelscumshop.com for some awesome swag and merch, like the Rebel Scum shirt I'm wearing today with the Imperial and Rebel logo kind of mixed together. We'll see you guys later. We'll see you another time. And may the Force be with all of you, you Rebel Scum.